Welcome to the IT Career Questions Podcast, where it's our goal to create IT futures. Each podcast will feature a special guest sharing their story on how they got in the IT field, as well as advice to you on how you can get started on your journey. My name is Zach Hill, and I will be your host of these episodes. And before we begin, I want to give a special thank you to the sponsor of this podcast, NextGen. At NextGen, their IT training focuses on real-world skills. Check out the network engineer or cybersecurity program, where you'll actually get hands-on instructor-led training to prepare you for the real-world IT environments you'll be facing. Let's begin. Hey, what's going on, YouTube? I hope you're all doing well. Today, I have a special guest for this stream, the Joe, the mayor of everything, right? The mayor of what? Of the Cyber Mentor Discord, of the cyber community, right?
Yeah, my own Discord, everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to have you here, man. I've seen you around. I've seen the work that you've done. It's fantastic, and you're out here trying to help the community. If people aren't familiar with you, why don't you tell people about who you are and where we can find you?
Sure. Well, I'm Joe Helly. I'm a former mayor, and now I just needed a cool hacker name like everybody else, and that one wasn't taken. So, Army veteran, spent a lot of time in the nonprofit space, former distiller. I owned a distillery for a while, made booze. Saw a problem with my town, decided to run for mayor, got elected for that in 2015. And served just under 3 years as mayor. I ran an unsuccessful campaign for our state legislature in 2018. Got just kind of disgruntled with politics and ended up being 33, trying to figure out what the heck to do with my life all of a sudden. So I ended up doing some mental inventories and kind of life inventory to see what I should do next. And I kind of landed in the IT space, and then I started researching and trying to figure out what was up with that. And then finally, from there, decided on cybersecurity. So went to WGU, Western Governors, got a quick bachelor's from there. Couldn't get jobs to save my life, so I started looking into cybersecurity some more because I couldn't get hired on a help desk. I couldn't get hired at a SOC, despite a boatload of certifications. So I started thinking about what else I could do, and I kind of landed in pen testing. So got EJPT from the old eLearn Security, which is INE/eLearn now. Started networking a lot, met Heath Adams, the cyber mentor. Just sent him a random LinkedIn message once because we grew up 30 minutes away from each other. I thought it was interesting, kind of a icebreaker, and just kind of all was downhill and uphill at the same time from there, if that makes sense. He gave me an internship with his company for a while. When that ended, I still couldn't find work, but I was streaming and everything else. And one day I just threw a Hail Mary out and asked for help. Said, why can I do all these things and nobody will hire me? So that finally got me seen, got me my first job, which led to my current job now with the Cyber Mentor with his pen testing firm. And just kind of been a blur for 2 years, man.
That's awesome. So there's so many things I want to ask you, but for initially, what piqued your interest in IT?
Well, I mean, we grew up in that age, right? So I'm 35 now. So at one point when I was a kid, we had a Commodore 64, and I remember playing like Lemonade Stand and Commando on there. And it just we're in that world where we've had computers, consumer electronics in our everyday lives for the most part. So. But again, it was like I was 18. I had no idea what to do. When I was in the Army, I was an infantryman, and I knew that I was just done with nonprofit and, just kind of the selfless service thing for a bit. I wanted to take some time to do something for myself. And I really didn't have much going for me in that aspect. I could go back to being a paramedic, but that's doing something for someone else all the time. I could have, I looked at starting a policy firm, but again, that would have been a nonprofit. I would have been doing public policy for like Lake Erie and whatnot. I had no interest in serving everybody else anymore. I wanted to serve me. So things were limited, right? I didn't know what to do. So I just leaned back on the thing I knew the most about, which at that time was IT. But even with that, I've just kind of chased my tail for a while. I didn't know quite what to do. I started looking at web development, and I started looking, from that side of things. And I knew I didn't want to be a developer or code because it just doesn't interest me very much, and I suck at math. So I kind of lost interest in it. So um, I did a lot of research and looked at a lot of different things, and the growing aspect of IT is security right now, and there's never going to be an end in sight for the need of it. So I looked short term at what I could jump into, and I looked long term at what would persist for a career, and that's kind of where I landed.
Cool. So like, how is that process of just like figuring out, because I'm curious, because there's so many people who come to IT career questions who've went through that process that you kind of just talked about, of like, do I want to be in web development? Do I want to be a programmer all day? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Like, how long do you think it like really took you, like doing all this research, to like really kind of pinpoint that area? If you can like think back to that time, because again, like I said, so many people have this question, and it's like, I think a lot of people think like, oh, it's just you decide right away what it is that you want to do. And they think a lot of people know right off the bat, I want to work in IT and this is exactly what I want to do, but I just don't think it's that way. And you basically said that. It's like, hey, I'm looking these things up and trying to figure it out. But
Sure.
how long was that process?
Probably a month or two, and it was a process of like doing stuff, right? So I got on Udemy, and I grabbed like an Angela Yu, her complete web development course, and I made it like a third of the way through it. I was just bored, right? Yeah, sure, I'm creating these projects, I'm making Kindog, I'm making these different portfolio projects, but I was just bored with it. I had no interest in it. It's neat to see how it happened, but I didn't want to do it. So okay, I've checked off web development. I don't want to be a web developer. I lack graphic creativity, so I'm not going to be an image designer. I'm not going to do multimedia generation and creating graphics and 3D modeling and whatnot. I just had no interest in it. So I just kind of went back to the Raspberry Pi state of mind. I'm a tinkerer by heart, and I've had Raspberry Pi since like the 2B or something. So I started thinking, what can I do with this? How? And I started looking at just the cybersecurity realm at the same time. And again, 1 to 2 months of just kind of researching and figuring it out, which is an accelerated time frame. I mean, there's no rush to get through this stuff in life. Take your time to, kind of pinpoint what you want to do. But at the same time, I'm 33. I don't have I've lost 15 or 20 years from, compared to an 18-year-old who is trying to make those same decisions.
Got plenty of time, man. What do you mean? There's like people who come to me who are like 50 years old, like, hey, am I too old to work in IT?
Never too old, but I gauge my life. I gauge my life based on how my physical feeling is. And my body has about twice the age is what my mind does right now on most days. So
I feel that.
I just thought about different things, and I don't write things down. It just constantly goes through my head. I'm not doing a pros and cons list or anything like that, but literally just sitting there 5-6 hours a day, just tinkering and looking and practicing and playing around and just trying to find out what I thought I would like. When I started, I never thought that I would get into pen testing. I didn't even know what it was. But now that I'm into it, I can't believe I didn't. What would have happened if I looked at it right away? Would I have been into the industry quicker? Would I have done things differently? Would I have done things incorrectly? But there's no like straight answer I can give you that says, hey, this is exactly how I pinpointed it. It was just a lot of trial and error, trying things out to see what I liked and what I didn't like.
No, it's perfect. I don't think there is. That's the point, is like, there's not an exact answer, and there's not like an exact science to it. Like, everybody's going to have like a different experience trying to figure it out. And,
sure,
like part of the fun, I think, is that journey that you kind of go through of figuring that stuff out, especially like you're saying, like you're a tinkerer, and you took the time to say, okay, I think I'm interested in this, so I'm going to research more about it. I'm going to actually dive into it somewhat and see if I actually like it, which is, more one step above like just researching it. It's like, okay, it's great that you did the research. We love that, but you took it that step further of actually getting like that hands-on into it and trying to experience it.
And there's a lot of low risk ways to do that now. I mean, if you get on, YouTube, there's free code camp. There's full courses that people out of the kindness of their hearts have developed and put out there for free to help people, lower cost or sometimes free options on Udemy. There's a lot of really good, low cost, low risk ways to determine what you might be interested in. And when I was starting, around here, I live kind of more in rural Ohio. There's not a whole lot of industry networking. I've got to drive to Toledo. I've got to drive to Cleveland to find industry professionals who are in the ISC Square group or the CompTIA group or, the local security group. We don't have that here. So it's not like I could just show up and ask questions. So, and I think there's a lot of people who fit that bill who, again, we hear a lot of talk about go to your local group and network, and we don't have those connections necessarily. There's a lot of people who are like me who live in the middle of a cornfield. And the soybeans are out there, and you're trying to, you're driving up a dirt road to get home or something. But you still want to do these things. So, you got to find those alternative ways to
what are those alternative ways?
When you're talking about networking, there's always things like Twitter. There's always things like Discord groups are huge. Don't be afraid to comment in YouTube videos. You'd be surprised how often you might be the person that the creator is responding to, or you pay attention to them and you'll see a Discord link, you'll see a virtual meetup. Put yourself out there a little bit. Obviously, when you don't have the local connect, make sure that you're trying to make the digital connect, especially in this internationally connected world. You have to do it.
How instrumental to your journey do you think that process was of building kind of a network online?
Well, it 100% instrumental. I mean, I'm imagine had I not done it, I could have succeeded at some point. I would have made it at some point. But it's about how much effort you apply to whatever it is you decide your path is. So again, living here in, we're technically a city, but we're surrounded by cornfields and we have no industry whatsoever. Online was vital. So finding those communities, finding those impact players and trying to interact and comment with them. Again, Heath Adams was that path. And I'm not saying for everybody who watches this, go on LinkedIn and message Heath Adams. What I am saying though, is find that person who makes impact that you can connect with on some level that's beyond the professional, where you just simply say, hi, I like your course. Hi, I can learn from you. No, hey, we have something in common where that person's going to remember who you are after they read your message. And that's coming from the political side. I just personally learned how to make those impact connections with the right people. But it does require a certain amount of putting yourself out there. It requires you with a certain amount of expecting not to be responded to or to be turned down or just get a simple blank reply or message. But connecting was vital, and it went from one message and it just completely went out of control. Next thing you know, I'm on his Discord. Next thing you know, I'm helping moderate his Discord. Next thing you know, I'm helping him with his Udemy course without him asking, and then we're negotiating, an internship for helping with that, and it went downhill or uphill or down, depending on which side of the cup you're looking at. But and then it butted into this amazing friendship. Certainly Heath is probably my best friend at this point. And then conversations about what the first hire I ever had is going to be you when I can hire. Literally leaving a job I had to go work for Heath at that point. So very vital, and the value of it cannot ever be overstated, ever, wherever you network, because you see it all the time. You regularly talk to people who are struggling to break in. The front door is not the way into these companies anymore. It is not the way into the field. You have got to find a way to go on the side, and you're not going to do that going through HR processes that are just broken and antiquated. You're going to go through making an impact on the people who make the impacts at that company. So.
For sure. No, I'm glad that we touched on that, because I mean, God, it seems like forever. It feels like I'm preaching almost at this point. Like, get on LinkedIn, connect with people, yes, network with people, and be part of the conversation.
Be impactful with the conversation too. Simply liking things or saying, I like what you do, let's connect, is not going to make an impact. If you're like me, you have hundreds of requests a week, hundreds of connection requests. And the majority of them don't come with a message. And then the ones that do are, I like your course. We're in the same field. I feel like I could learn from it. That's great. What benefit do you have for me? And, that's one of those things where if you can't provide me benefit, provide me connection and conversation. So, I do my best to respond and say, thanks for connecting, but I'm never going to remember you ever.
Yeah. There's the cookie cutter messages, which I'm sure that you get. It's always, it's literally the same, like just hundreds of them of just, hey, I like your videos. Hey, I've watched all your videos and love it and blah, blah, blah. And I have this question that I've already answered in a video that you just said you watched all of them. It's the same thing, but it's those people who actually take the time to, like you did with Heath, like make it personable. Like those are the people that I respond to because they actually went out of their way to like go through a thought process to interact with me. Like I will always respond to those people because they actually put in the work. But like, all the cookie cutter stuff of just, hey, I like your stuff and whatever, like I can't, I just ignore it because what are you bringing to me? Like, and that's the point of this is like, that's going to be the same in any way that people are interacting with people on platforms like LinkedIn or Discord is you need to actually provide some type of information or value or just make yourself part of that conversation and provide something to it. Not just LOL, I like what you posted, or you know what I mean? Like that's going to get you nowhere. And I think that's exactly what you're saying.
It is. The compliments are always flattering, but if the point is to break in or to be around the people who, I don't want to call myself a power player because I'm not, just me, but as growth increases, you become more influential. If you want to make that influence on the person who's going to be influential, you have to be memorable. And you just have to question what your motive is on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Why are you there? Is it just for memes? I mean, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter for memes sometimes. I like them, but exactly. But if you're there to find work, if you're there to network professionally, make the impact, and find the appropriate people to do it with.
LinkedIn
it's just the way it is.
It's a gold mine of a platform, and people don't take advantage of it as much as they should. They don't. I think they they see so much of people who, and they kind of, I think they maybe like hit it off right away on LinkedIn, but it's like these are the people that are actually putting in the work to get noticed, and it's like, I don't know. It just feels like so many people are so scared to like just put themselves out there because they're afraid of what they're going to say or what's going to happen from it. But I think overall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but everything that I've seen specifically from the cyber community is everybody has been so just helpful, like go out of your way essentially to help answer questions, to help people with whatever that they can. There's somebody out there who's willing to help. And it's one of the most phenomenal things that I can see as somebody that does what I do, I guess, like just seeing that community come together and that support that we have. So I guess what I'm saying is like, don't feel embarrassed or afraid to be part of that conversation. There's no stupid question, right? Like
there's jerks who will tell you there is. Well, ignore those people. There's always going to be a butthead in every conversation. Ignore them just like everything else. You just have to assume that there's some people who feel safe online saying whatever they want. You have to assume that there's going to be grumpy people with everything.
But for every one of those people, there's probably like 3 or 4 people who are going to be helpful, who are going to
absolutely. And just identify the people who align with your thoughts and goals and what you're looking for, and align with them. And soon enough, you'll realize that you're gathered online in these spaces with more of those people who are like-minded. And you'll see yourself start to flourish, whether it's individually or helping others learn, because that value of helping others is really important too.
For sure. I mean, that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing. That's why I think you do what you do. You say that I was kind of like laughing to myself because you were saying like that you got out of like, don't want to be a paramedic and do all this stuff where you're like serving other people, yet here you are serving other people, so it's in a different way, but it's so valued and appreciated, man.
That started that started pragmatically, right? I was thinking about how I could make that impact. So I started streaming. I started making rooms over on Try Hacking because I wanted to be seen. You know, I was having issues with branding, right? We need to look at ourselves when we're trying to sell ourselves as a brand. And I was struggling with selling myself. So I started putting myself out there in ways that would help other people, but that would also help myself, right? You're streaming, you've got 50, you've got 100 people looking at you. That's 50 or 100 people that didn't know who you existed before. And that's 50 or 100 network, possible networking connections you can make. And those are exponential. All it takes is one person with 100 followers sharing with their 100 followers, and two people from that seeing it, and it growing. But you're absolutely right. I get out of politics because I was just tired of helping other people for a while. But all of my career choices, for the most part, have been other people centric. Even when I was distilling, I was an elected mayor. So, people would come in, and half the time they weren't there for my booze. They were there to help turn the lights back on. Or they had a parking issue, or they're upset because they had potholes. So this is like the first time I've been able to just say, hey, you know what? I don't want to help anybody today. I just want to do me, where it was safe to do so. But then I end up helping other people because it feels good, because helping other people helps maintain skills in this field, because what we do is oftentimes use or lose. We can take a million pages of notes, but we're never going to remember anything in there. So if we're not using our skills constantly and staying fresh and up to date, we miss out. So helping other people also does that. But the feel good aspect, I mean, somebody saying, hey, I found my first CVE because of an article you wrote. That's great. And that's been happening a lot these last few days.
That's awesome.
So, I passed such and such exam because you showed me how to pivot, etc. And I try to stay humble, but on the same token, some of those things, it's just too good to stay humble. It makes you feel good, and if it motivates other people to be helpful at the same time, I think that we've succeeded.
Yeah, no, I love where you're coming from, man. Like it's truly like an appreciated just like presence that you have in what you're doing,
Sure.
Just for me, for like where I'm coming from with like this channel, it's all about helping people find their path and find their journey. And like seeing people do that similar thing is just so encouraging to the overall IT field. And that's what I think a lot of people over the last 7 years of doing this, people need that. They need that encouragement. They need that somebody there like you, like me, like Heath, who genuinely wants to help, who's
Sure.
there for a genuine reason. And I think just watching you guys, like, I think you can see that. I think it just comes across. So that's like, it's exciting for me to be interviewing you here. So like people can see you and find
Sure.
you and discover your content, because they're going to get a lot of value from it. So thank you for being here, first of all.
Well, appreciate it.
Fantastic. But what other advice do you have for people who are trying to break into this field outside of doing that research and diving in the hands-on? Not that I want to discredit that, because I think that is extremely valuable, and not enough people take the time to research exactly what they want to do and dive into, get hands-on a little bit with these different technologies and things they want to learn. But what else, could they be doing that would help them get maybe break down the doors, if you will?
So first and foremost, take your time. Again, it's not a race. The industry, cybersecurity, is not going anywhere. IT is not going anywhere. There's going to be a need for it until we upload ourselves, and then somebody's going to have to maintain it. So take your time and think about what it is. Find those impact players and those people who are influential, that you can align yourself with in order to grow. And then finally, once you're in the door, prop the damn thing open for the people who come after you. There's nothing worse than trying to get hired in IT right now. It is a miserable process. It is a months-long process. Sometimes you might submit dozens of applications, and they're just too lazy or terrible or too busy or whatever the excuse is to email you back or contact you back. Once you have been hired somewhere, do not forget where you came from. That is a huge just curse in this field right now, that people, once they finally get somewhere, they're set. That once you're hired, you can bounce around all you want. You can go from job A to job B. You can go up as high as you want. Don't forget what it was like to be that person struggling, because unless you're a superhero unicorn, you've probably struggled to get to where you're at. Don't forget it. Don't make people embrace that same suck. Improve the field, improve the process, make it better for the people who come after you. Because it's them who's going to continue making, the success or failures of the industry. It's not us. I'm a pen tester, and in a few years I'll be a manager maybe, or a CISO, or lead a company, and then it's up to somebody else. And I have to hope that I've groomed those next people to do the job that they think it's best going to be. So prop the damn door open, plain and simple.
Love that. I love that. It's everything that you say is just like so true, and I hope people really resonate with what you say, like really take in what you say, because it's so true.
We need leaders to resonate with what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, well, dude, I've been on that for so long.
It's so bad.
It's terrible, and I don't even want to get into that, because that just gets me so frustrated, and I get on my whole tirades on. Go ahead.
I'll tirade about one more thing. It's diversify your education. There's a lot in IT right now that says you got to have this specific thing or that specific thing to get in, and really it's just resume bullets, right? Once you're hired, your employer is going to tell you, let us know what training you want, let us know what you need for CEs or CEUs. They don't care once you're hired, but before you're hired, it's these very specific requirements. Set yourself apart from your peers. If you go in and everybody has CompTIA Security Plus, there's nothing different from you as opposed to the other entry-level person. So take another course, take some other, if you use, Messer for passing the exam, get the Mike Myers book and read through it too. Diversify whatever it is you've done to get to where you're at, because it will set you apart at some point from your peers. Maybe not on the resume, but when you talk to somebody. And if you all have the same baseline information, there's nothing different about you. So do everything you can to make yourself stand out. If you're looking at pen testing, yeah, sure, the OSCP, everybody has to have it. Bachelor's degree, everybody has to have it. But why not throw in the PMPT from Cybermen, or why not throw in the ECPPT from INE to say, hey, look, I've also taken the time, if I can afford it, and done this, or I've done some Udemy courses. Whether it's you have the funding to do it, or you're struggling to get by, whatever it is, diversify. There's going to be resources out there that you can afford, whether it's free or $1,000. But do what you can to stand out. And blogs and GitHub repos are not doing it anymore. You have to find other ways to do it. Networking, Twitch, YouTube videos, etc.
Yeah, no, for sure. I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't have said it better. So I'm not even gonna say nothing about it. You're right.
Then I'll just host the show for now.
Go for it. That's fine, because I hardly do anything with it anymore. So
or you can just do the interviews for me.
That's fine. If you want to do stuff on the channel, you go for it,
bro. No, I'm too busy.
Yeah, right. That's my thing too. I back kind of like what you were saying though. Like you said, it's not a race, right? Like
sure.
Which I love. It's not a race. And another thing, like, and you were just talking about like setting yourself apart from people and things too. But one thing, like, I really want to stress to people is not to compare yourself to other people's too. Like, don't look at like the fact that, this person has, their Security Plus and their OSCP, and they got those certifications in 6 months, and you're still studying for your Security Plus, and it's taking you 6 months to study for that. Like, that's okay. Like,
it is.
Back to your point, take your time, but don't look at other people and what they're doing and measure it and use that as a measurement for yourself, because it's never going to work out the way that you want it to. You have to take the time that it takes you to do it. Like you as a personal and individual, like you have to figure that out, and don't let anybody else like infiltrate your process and the time that it takes you. Like, please, I have to stress that so much, because you look at social media, and when you look, I'm sure you see the same thing. Like, people are constantly posting, I got this certification today, and I did this today. And, and it's constant. It's this constant, like, like approval type of thing, and this constant, like, showing off type of thing, which is great in its own way. But at the same time, y'all can't look at that and say, like, you have to be there too.
Correct.
Like, you take the time to do it, and that's going to be okay. No matter how long it takes, as long as you get there, it's fine. Nobody's going to say, oh, it took you a year to get your OSCP. Nobody's going to give a crap. Like, No, they're just going to say,
No.
oh, you got your OSCP? Great. Nobody cares how long it takes you. Just get there.
Nope, absolutely. Yeah, it's all personally relative. Don't set your goals or who you are relative to the industry or other people. Like you said, Twitter or LinkedIn's notorious for not showing failures. So I'll add one. I failed the EJPT the first time I took it. Why? I got frustrated. So I just marked down all those answers and hit submit. I get frustrated. I'm human. On my Discord, I try to show people that when I stream, I try to show people, man, I've just had enough right now. I need to just end the stream for the day because I'm just upset because I can't figure something out. We need more people who are in those in the public eye to show that it's okay to to fail. It's all right. We fail too. I'm not a superhero. I get my butt kicked on stuff all the time.
I failed my Security Plus, and I shared it out with everybody.
Yeah, it just is what it is. Failure is part of life, and but we do need more people to share in those failures as much as they share in their successes, because you do get that that rock star complex with some people that just everyone that's in these positions is infallible, and they can't be touched. Well, no, we struggle with mental health too. We struggle with our jobs and staying employed. Some people have a hard time staying employed who are doing these great things. Some people have a hard time with motivation. Yeah, I mean, just don't look at us as anything more than just what you are. We've just been vocal about it.
Yep,
that's the only difference.
That's where I come from too, like, for sure, because I hate when people like, and I'm sure you're starting to get this too, they put you up on a pedestal, and it's like, no, man, I'm just like a normal person, like not normal by any means, but I'm just a regular human being just like you, but I'm just trying to help, but don't put us up on anything, like we all struggle, and you've made that very clear. I make that very clear. Heath has made that very clear. Like all these great, like these people in like our circle, I would say, like I think we all do a great job of making that apparent. Like, hey, it's okay. Failure sometimes is okay. It's a learning experience. We're not all perfect.
Yeah, I blasted out in my Discord this morning. I was kind of a jerk last night on there, so I blasted out, hey, I'm struggling. I'm taking this new medication, and it's my depression. It's just got my mind on a roller coaster. Just blast out an apology. I have no pride when it comes to that stuff. I'm there's no ego, there's no pride. I just want people to see that I'm just this raw, guy who sometimes is in a really good mood, sometimes just in a really foul mood, sometimes is super successful, and other times I'm down on the count. I'm just bleeding out. We need more of that. And the only way we do it is by leading by example. But again, we're following a generation, our generation in age. We're following a generation where that wasn't okay. Yep. Our parents in their 60s or 70s or older, and we're trying to follow these folks who that was weakness in their minds, and it's not like that anymore. And as a veteran too, I've tried to help other veterans understand it's okay to have post-traumatic stress. It's okay to suffer from depression. It's okay to really struggle with these things, and to be able to talk about it, because the World War II and Korea veterans and Vietnam veterans, they weren't really open about it. So, I mean, we have to change the cycle, and the only way to do it is to show that it's okay to do so with everything.
I could, yeah, man, I agree. I don't know if you saw, like, I post stuff. I talk about mental health all the time. Like I'm like, even on LinkedIn, like because I don't care. Like it's part of life, man. It's part of what I'm dealing with. And like for people, like especially like in the positions like we're in, it's like, man, like I just want people to see that, like, whatever, like I'm some quote unquote influencer, but you sometimes, like, I don't want to wake up. Like, I just don't want to do nothing. Like shit sucks sometimes.
There's days where crawling out of bed is the most accomplished thing I'm going to do.
Yeah,
we're just getting up and getting out of bed is going to be the biggest thing I do today. And still, I don't make a fuss about trying to put a face on. I mean, that's me that day. I try to just avoid people because I'm not going to be useful. I'm not going to be kind. Sometimes I'm just going to be a jerk. But own yourself. It's okay. And if you're not okay talking about it, that's fine. No, you're not alone. There's people who are feeling more and more comfortable sharing those experiences like yourself, who hopefully, even if you just make an impact on one person, it's so much better than really what we had, because again, there wasn't an openness to mental health.
No.
You could have your leg chopped off and talk about it for 3 years, and that's cool and fine and dandy, but you talk about mental health and it was weakness, and you're a despicable human, and what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong. Just don't feel good today. And that's what I tell people. I don't feel well today. Nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong with it. And
nope.
People need to understand from all perspectives that I think one of the main problems with it too is like so many people are incapable of putting themselves in other people's shoes, even for just a second, just to like try to understand. It's just like people are incapable of that. But that's okay. Like, it's okay from your end. Like, if you feel like crap one day, we're allowed that. Like, it's all right.
If you feel like crap for 10 days, certainly talk to someone, obviously, if you're struggling, but on occasion, I don't know what your experience is like, but on occasion I'll say something online or elsewhere and I'll get a comment about, I can't believe you're talking about that. What's wrong with you? Usually multicultural or from a different culture. Just a side effect of living in an interconnected world. There's no educating some of these people. It's never going to be okay for them. So if you do become vocal, obviously just brush those people off.
Yeah.
You felt strong enough and confident enough in your own mind and skin to talk about something that's troubling you, something that's challenging you. Screw them, and you did something good. And again, you've made an influence on somebody who's read that or seen it. Somebody who is reading what you wrote or something that you said when it comes to that is resonating. And they're saying, hey, you know what? I'm like them today. And I've had a good half dozen or more Discord messages today, people saying the same thing or offering, a lending ear and whatnot. Hey, if you ever need to talk, we'll have a beer or something. That's great. Good people, and it's nice when you say those things to hear that back as well, to say, hey, you know what? I'm not alone. Because sometimes you're wondering if anybody else out there is like me.
No, the last time I posted a video on LinkedIn about this stuff, it was just maybe about a month ago now. Yeah, about a month ago. Like the outpouring of people like, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? I'm here for you. It's just like phenomenal. And it's not just me though, and it's not just you, and it's not just because of who we are. Somebody, I think it was like a week or two later, had posted a similar type of message on their LinkedIn, and he wasn't anybody. Like, I don't mean that. I just mean like he wasn't anybody who was like an influencer or who's been out there like putting himself out there. He's just somebody who works in IT, and he was struggling. And that post just had so much feedback and comments from people like, hey, if you need anything, I'm here. Like people like don't even know you, but there's all these people who are very supportive, because I think there's more people who struggle with their mental health than, they obviously want to let on. A lot of people want to keep it private. I got so many people like messaging me privately, like, hey, I don't want people to know this. I don't want my job to know this, but I struggle too. I get that. But there's so many people out there who are in these same types of, positions or have these same types of feelings and want to help. So don't ever feel like you're alone. Like that's very, very important.
Absolutely.
I'm glad we got to talk about that. That's a great part of a combo there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add though about anything, man? Really, we covered a lot.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. Again, just find those impact players and make the improvements for the people who come after you. I think that if there's anything to take away from, if you're watching this, new in IT or old, pay attention to who the people are that you need to influence to get you where you want to go. And then once you've gotten there, make sure that you return the favor for the people who were in your shoes.
Yeah, it's like paying it forward or whatever, right? Like that kind of mentality almost.
Like I say, just prop the door open.
For sure.
Make sure the door is easy to open for the people who come afterwards, because the struggle is real for this industry right now, and COVID made it so much harder. And now that we're kind of returning back to normal, I think more people are finding employment. But those processes still need to change. They're still not kind or forgiving whatsoever. So
For sure. Oh man, I agree. I love it. I appreciate you being here and
of course
sharing the info. If people want to find you, where do they go?
Joe Helly on Twitter is probably the best place. I have some other stuff too, but honestly, Twitter is a good place to start. You can find anything out about me from there. Just Googling my name.
I'll grab
You might find
links
some.
and throw
You might
them
find some good stuff. You might find some bad stuff. It's usually political if you find the bad stuff.
in. That's all right. Cool, man. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
stay tuned for more.
All right. Thank you.